Scientists drilled 4 kilometers straight down through solid Antarctic ice. What came up the borehole should not have been possible. Bacteria with genetic code that matched nothing in any database on Earth. A lake sealed off from sunlight, from air, from the entire history of our species. For 15 million years. And that's not even the strangest thing on this list. A river that boils people alive. Lights that have haunted a valley for 200 years. A cave sealed for 5 million years that's still crawling with life. 10 places, 10 mysteries, 0 real answers. Imagine walking through the Amazon and finding a river hot enough to cook a fish that falls in instantly. For nearly a century, scientists refused to believe it was real. No volcano exists for over 700 kilometers. By every standard model, this river should not be hot at all. Then in 2011, geophysicist Andrés Russo measured the water himself, 86 degrees Celsius, just short of boiling. Geothermal water, forced upward through deep fractures in the crust, is the leading theory. But the exact mechanism behind heat, this extreme, this far from any volcano, is still, in Russo's own words, one of the most puzzling geothermal anomalies on the planet. But this river wasn't even the strangest thing scientists found in South America. Now imagine standing in the middle of a desert, surrounded by lines carved into the ground, and having no idea you're standing inside a giant hummingbird. For 2,000 years, nobody could see these shapes from the ground, only from the sky. The people who carved these lines had no aircraft, no way to ever see their own work completed. Archaeologists spent 100 years cataloging what they assumed was the full picture. Then, in 2019, artificial intelligence found what a century of human eyes had missed. Hundreds of new figures, more than doubling everything known, in less than a decade. Researchers now believe thousands more may still be buried under the dust, waiting. What they were built for is still anyone's guess. But if lines drawn by ancient hands are strange, what do you call millions of perfect circles that no human ever drew at all? In the Namib Desert, bare patches of earth stretch across a region larger than Ireland, spaced with a precision that looks engineered. One team blames termites, feeding underground in perfect rings. Another argues it's the plants themselves, self-organizing in a war for scarce water. After 40 years, researchers remain divided, and neither side can fully disprove the other. The Himba people who have lived in this desert for generations call them something else entirely. The footprints of the gods. Now imagine breathing air that could kill you in minutes. In 1986, workers drilling in Romania broke into a hillside cavity sealed for 5.5 million years. The moment cavers stepped inside, their eyes started burning. Oxygen levels 1/3 of normal. Toxic gas, thick enough to cause permanent lung damage. And yet the cave was full of life. Blind spiders, pale leeches, centipedes found nowhere else on the planet, all surviving without a single ray of sunlight. An entire ecosystem, evolving completely alone for over 5 million years. Even today, access is restricted to a handful of researchers a year. And even modern technology can't fully explain what these organisms will become next. And believe it or not, the final location on this list is even harder to explain than this cave. In northern Tanzania, there's a lake that turns birds to stone. Not as a figure of speech. The water itself is caustic enough to burn skin, and it preserves the animals that touch it in a frozen, lifelike pose. The chemistry is understood. High alkalinity acting like a natural embalming solution. What's harder to explain is why, in one of the most hostile environments on the planet, millions of flamingos choose this exact lake to raise their young. Now picture an island so isolated, so strange, that early explorers called it the most alien-looking place on Earth. Off the coast of Yemen, separated from the mainland for 20 million years, nearly 1/3 of its plants exist nowhere else on the planet. Cut its trees, and they bleed a deep red resin, prized for over 2,000 years. Botanists have documented hundreds of species found only here. Bottle-shaped trees, reptiles, insects unseen anywhere else on Earth. Ongoing conflict has kept researchers away since 2015. 20 million years of evolution, cut off from the rest of the world. And no one currently knows what else is out there waiting to be found. This next one sounds impossible. A flame that has burned behind a waterfall in New York for over a century. Fed by gas, seeping from rock that, according to standard science, isn't hot enough to produce gas at all. A 2013 study measured the source shale at barely 50 degrees Celsius, half of what conventional models require. The evidence doesn't fit current theory, and still, whenever the wind blows it out, the next hiker simply relights it. Now imagine diving into what looks like a perfect circle of ink in the middle of turquoise water, and realizing it drops over 200 meters straight down into darkness. Past 20 meters, oxygen all but vanishes, replaced by a toxic layer where only extreme bacteria survive. Conditions researchers compare to early Earth, or another planet entirely. Side passages branch off into the rock, and most of them have never been mapped. High in a remote Norwegian valley, something has been lighting up the night sky for 2 centuries, and it's still happening tonight, right now, while you're watching this. Since 1984, an automated research station has recorded these lights with cameras on radar and spectral analyzers. Roughly 20 sightings every single week. Spectral data shows signs consistent with plasma. No one has explained how plasma could hold together in open air like this. After 40 years of round-the-clock scientific observation, the honest answer from the physicists who've spent their careers on this is simple. No one has a definitive answer. Which brings us back to where we started. That lake beneath 4 kilometers of ice. When Russian researchers finally broke through in 2012, they pulled up bacteria with genetic sequences matching nothing else on record. Life that may have been evolving completely alone for over 15 million years. Longer than our own species has walked this earth. A river that boils without a volcano. Lines drawn by hands that never saw them finished. A lake that turns birds to stone. Lights that have danced over a valley for 200 years and are still dancing tonight. Decades of research haven't solved a single one of these. We like to think we've explored this planet, mapped it, measured it, understood it. But after everything you've just seen, maybe we've only explored the surface. Which of these places shocked you the most? Tell us in the comments below.